Hello, I'm Dr. Ron Eglin, and welcome to Java for Beginners Part 4. And in this one, we're going to go over arrays and actually how to create a custom exception block for input. Whew, a lot of stuff here. So what I'm going to do is I want to create an array of objects, and the array of objects I want to create is going to be an array of courses. These are courses like you would take in school. So we're looking at courses such as COP 2800, Java, and that would be a course. A course has a prefix, a number, and a description. Now, so what I'm going to do is create a public class course, easy to do, and create those three properties. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Oh my gosh, I just went through and deleted the get and set for one of my properties. Not to worry, and that means I can go here and say an insert code, and I can say getter and setter, and I can go ahead and throw those guys back in without having to type a single thing. I just wanted to show you that little neat little thing there. That right click has got a lot of capabilities here. So what I have here is a public class course. I've got three properties. I've got the set and get and set methods for those properties, and I've also got a constructor here. And in the constructor, I pass it a prefix, a number, and a description. That's just going to make your life easier. Now, I need to create a list of courses so that the user can select what courses to choose from. To do that, I've made a class called Available Courses. That is a new class called Available Courses, and in that I've made an array of courses. I want you to look at the actual syntax of making an array of courses. Now, array is a number of things that have indexes. So, course, open bracket, close bracket. That right there says I'm making an array of the object course. I'm going to have more than one. As always, you tell what you're going to make. You're going to give the name of what you're going to make, and then you construct it. In this case, the constructor of making that list of courses is just saying that it's going to be an array, and I'm going to initialize the array with up to 10 different courses that you can put there. And I've also got a second property called int number of courses because I'm going to keep track of that. Down here, I exercise that beautiful right click, and I've created the get and set methods for the courses. All right, so right here, I've got the constructor. Remember, the constructor has the same name, same name, same name, same name as the class. And in the constructor, I'm going to go ahead and set the number of courses to 3, and I'm going to go ahead and put 3 courses into the list of courses, the property that I had there. So list of courses 1 of this first one is going to be a new course with these 3. Remember the constructor for course accepted prefix, number, and description. Course 1, prefix, number, and description. Course 2, prefix, number, and description. So I've got 3 courses. And remember, if you know what an array is a variable that is indexed by the number, so you can have more than one in the variable. So there's the index 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so I've got 3 courses, and I've got them there. So now I've got this wonderful class called Available Courses that I can use. What am I going to do next? Well, I'm going to go ahead and set up a custom exception that I'm going to use here called bad registration. This is going to be, and what I mean by a custom exception is it simply extends exception. So public class bad registration extends exception, and exception is something that you can either throw an exception saying, oh my gosh, an error has occurred, or actually there's a whole lot of them built in. All I have to do in bad registration is can create a constructor, same name, constructor, same name, constructor, same name that is passed a string, and it calls the base constructor of exception. So super S is going to just call back to the base constructor of exception. I made that because I'm going to use that as an example of how to actually catch bad registration information. Okay, I've got a course. I've got a list of available courses. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a registration. So to do that, I've now created another class. Look at what I'm doing. I'm just making a bunch of classes. This class, however, is going to go ahead and accept input from the user. Now, I have instantiated the class Available Courses with the name Available. That's going to contain the list of all the available courses. And I've now made a method called public int get registration. I want to actually return a registration, and in there I've instantiated a scanner. Why? Because I need to get input, and I've also got a variable called selection. That's the selection that the user is going to get. Now, a little bit of the logic of what's going to go on right here. Okay, what's going to happen here is that the user is going to be prompted to enter a registration number, and if that registration number is outside of the range of available numbers that it's allowed to have, it's going to throw an exception and stop, and it's going to go around in a loop until they enter something good. Let's test this. Okay, come down here, we run it. Okay, now select the number for the course registration. Well, I want course 5. Oops, course 5 does not exist. Selection's out of range. Okay, it doesn't take it. Okay, let's try 1. It's in the range, and we're done. How did that work? Well, I created a loop called while true. Whoa, while true will always be true. That's right. So we're going to have some way to jump out of it. All right, inside my while loop, which goes from here to here, I've got a try catch. Try catch is a great construct. It says try this, and if it doesn't work, catch the errors that might possibly occur. Ooh, this could be good because now all of a sudden you're not going to get blue screens of death. It's going to catch the errors that could occur and handle them the way you want them to be handled. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and system out.println available to string. Well, if you remember, available was the list of available courses. And if I go over to available courses and scroll down, I'll notice I actually built a toString, which prints out this beautiful thing that you can see down here. It just prints out, okay, it just does a loop for int I equals 0, I is less than get number of courses. It goes through and it puts the course number, but you notice it's an array. It indexes at the start of 0. Well, how did I handle that? I just put an I plus 1 there. And notice that when I put this in parentheses, it actually prints out the I and plus 1, not I plus 1. Okay, and then the prefix, and then the number, and the description, and I want a new line, so I put the \n there. So this prints out this. Okay, well, let's go back over to my registration and see what's actually happening here. All right, so remember, I'm inside this while loop. It prints out the available strings. It says select the number of the course for registration, and then the selection is going to be equal to the input.nextInt. Whereas you remember, input is the scanner. Scanner input equals new scanner. A scanner allows you to get in input from the user, and next int is going to always return the next integer. Now, here's where I've got the ability to throw those exceptions. Okay, if the selection is less than or equal to 0, it's going to throw new bad registration selection out of range. And if the selection is greater than available get number of courses, it means it's higher than the number that's available, it's going to throw new bad registration selection out of range. Okay, well, it's the same message for each one. It doesn't really matter. So what it's saying is that, okay, if this is bad, I'm going to throw an exception. If this is bad, I'm going to throw an exception. And if these two don't get triggered, it's just going to return the selection. It's going to return the 1, 2, or 3 that was entered by the user. Now, if I'm going to throw an error, I've got to catch the error. Okay, so if I catch the error, guess right here, I've got the catch. Okay, try catch. It throws the bad, it catches the bad, system.out.println, e.getMessage. E is the exception that got thrown. GetMessage is going to return the message, and the message is what you pass to it. Whew, that wasn't too bad. So, what happens here? Well, if the try goes through and the exception is not thrown, it returns the selection and it's out of the while. If, however, it tries it and the exception is thrown, it's going to jump down here to the catch, it's going to put out the message, and it's going to go back up to the while and let you do it again. All right, now, final piece. How do we make all of this occur? Well, course registration is where main is, and here's what I do. In main, in the course registration, remember all Java programs have a main, and that's what gets called by default. I create a new registration. I create an integer called selection, okay, different selection than the one and the other one, and I then say is equal to r.getRegistration. Okay, let's follow this. I create a new registration. Okay, I go over to registration, and then I call this method getRegistration. The registration will either return a number or it won't return a number, but it does some amazing things. It instantiates the available courses to do all this, and the available courses are actually what prints out the stuff to the screen right here. So there's a lot going on in this little bitty program that you can learn from, okay? And you should. What have we learned right here? Well, we've made classes to handle everything. I made a class to handle the available courses. I made a class to handle the custom exception. I made a class for what a course is because it's a special thing. in available courses, I made an array of courses and I populated it in the constructor. Then over here in registration, I did a lot of stuff here. I made a method called get. I made an instantiation of the available courses. Okay, then I made this method called get registration, which will loop round and round and round and round in circles until the user actually inputs a decent registration, and that sends it back to the original calling method right here. Woo! That is some great programming. I hope this helped all those people that are trying to learn how to do some great things in Java. Good programming.